Hey, it's Will here from Potato Strong. If you have any issues with your weight or other areas of your life, it can be useful to assume that it's something you're doing, no matter what the circumstance. Particularly with diet, I'm just seeing so many excuses and people not able to really acknowledge that they're doing something wrong. It seems to be an innate ability of ours to not really take responsibility and find some other excuse. So there's this internal locus of control where you tend to believe that your success or failures are due to your efforts, and an external locus of control where you might think it's someone else's fault. So the food corporations are putting things in the food, government, metabolism, thyroid, genetics. I just saw something today where it said, vitamins in the food that they're putting in, like the enriched food, is responsible for obesity. And I think there's so many distractions out there, and it can make people not really take responsibility and not really solve the issue. So if you're looking at your food and you think, well, everything I'm eating is fine, there's no issues, just try to think about it from the perspective of something I'm eating, some things that I'm eating are problematic or causing me issues. You might want to write down everything you eat. I've had discussions with people who, it could be even some bad things like chips, alcohol, fatty foods, and they just don't think that it's a problem. And it's really hard for people to know that they're actually exceeding their caloric requirements. A lot of food has fat in it and oils and all sorts of things with restaurants and junk food. So number one advice is say, okay, something I'm doing is wrong, it's my fault. And really looking at what's being consumed. If you're sticking to a low calorie density approach, which is fruit, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, it's going to be pretty hard to exceed your caloric intake for the day. If you start eating higher fat foods, and you can eat a little bit of that, but they do scientific studies, and people are just horrible at recalling what they're eating. So I just think that in a lot of cases there are actual reasons for it. So if you're thinking, there's something there's something going on, and not to just blame your body or genetics or whatever, metabolism. We don't really need a ton of calories, and it's easy to exceed them for most people who are relatively sedentary with jobs and stuff like that. So if you want to write down everything you're eating and have somebody take a look at it, that might help. Or you can look at it yourself. But there's so many things where you start adding oils and maybe snacking on nuts or some of these vegan desserts, and it's so easy to just go overboard. I'm not trying to say don't eat anything like avocados or nuts or dates or anything like that, but I just saw a video where they said a date, one of those medjool, had 66 calories or something like that. And they're not that big, they're little things like this. So the dried fruits, they tend to be high density calorie. If you ate 10 of those, you'd be looking at 660 calories, roughly 700 calories. If that was just a snack, that could be excessive, in addition to your basal needs. I'm not saying starve yourself or restrict yourself. It's just common sense, basal metabolic rate and your activity level. So your caloric needs for the day, depending on your activity level. People that are really, really active need to eat things like, they need to get more calories in. High athletes, so they might eat dates and they might blend some smoothies. But if you're not that active, it's not really necessary. Just eat whole foods. And in general, that's what I'm promoting. for people to eat whole foods. And yeah, so I think it's a great idea. Just to assume it's something that you're doing, and really troubleshoot. Try to solve and figure out what it is. And if you need some help, track what you're doing and send it to me or post it on some of the forums out there. And like McDougall and Jeff Novick is a great registered dietitian who can help support you in your efforts. All right, guys. Talk to you later.